perhaps even more than the money, it's the freedom. That's what draws people who want to be traders. Yes, you want to make money, but unless you believe idiotic hype that you come across on social media, just do the maths. Unless you've got 100K to put in of your own money, it's very difficult to make big money. Yes, you can trade the prop firms and be successful that way, but even so, it's not really going to rank you unless you're exceptionally good. And there are a tiny percentage of people, I tell you, I've spoken to a lot of traders, only a tiny percentage of people start off and continue through prop firms and so on, making what I'd call a serious income. So what else is there to be drawn to? And for me and the people I talk to, it's been the freedom to choose your own timetable, work when you want, go to the gym, go a walk, have a date, whatever it is that you want to do during the day that isn't, going to be allowed if you work for an employer. You don't have to worry about a boss pissed off because you haven't done this, that, and the other. There's no politics, and so on. The only thing you have to think about are your charts, some news coming out, staying cool, and all the rest of it. Also, it may seem. My next guest, Troy Noonan, would say, the thing that gives you the real freedom is having a system, having a plan, and sticking to it. Occasionally tweaking it to improve it, but actually treating your trading as a business, being the CEO of your business. Only when you achieve that, and when you really chase that down hard, can you find something that we'd more reasonably call freedom. Troy was in Europe just a few days ago. He came to London for a trading trip just a few days ago, and while he was here, I invited him over to my place, said, can you get up here, up North London? And he had the time, so he came up and we did a podcast, had a couple of glasses of wine afterwards, some Moroccan food. It was a good night and a good session. So I hope you enjoy this episode. I think you'll find it useful. Troy, welcome back to A Trader's Life, and now we're both in my place, so that makes a change.
Thank you, Nick. Yeah, I've been looking forward to meeting you in person.
Yeah,
Thanks for inviting
it's
me.
been a while. Yeah, cool. So I thought we'd start with traders' mistakes. What is the biggest mistake you see that traders make time and time again?
Yeah, I think there's two major ones. There's probably a bunch of minor ones too, but the biggest mistake traders make is they want to start trading too soon. They don't learn what it means to experience the random distribution of wins and losses. That's a concept that drives new traders crazy because they just want to win. They want to make money. They want to place those trades, make money, and they might even be placing a great trade and it loses. And then what do? They get all crazy and they end up throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And it's because they haven't learned the deeper context of what it means to have a statistical advantage, an edge in the market. They're just expecting to win. So no one can win 100% of the time, and they often learn that in a hard way, and they don't know how to handle it.
Okay, so essentially they should work on a plan even before they start trading. So what does that plan look like?
Yeah, so wow, jumping right to it. That's the key. The key is a trade plan that you have a large enough sample set so that you can determine you truly have a statistical advantage. Okay, now you have to have mechanical rules to follow. So a trade plan, now this depends on if you're talking a day trade plan or a swing trade plan. They're different. Same concept, but we go about creating it a different way. Let's talk about a day trade plan. It's easy to understand. You need to know what market you're going to trade. Same market every day, over and over and over and over. You don't have to trade a bunch of markets and fish and shoot from your hip and, because there's no way to prove that. See, I don't think there is. In my opinion, you need one market, one chart, a start time, a hard stopping time, a goal that you're trying to achieve. For me, a trade plan, a good day trade plan, you should be able to win a vast majority of your sessions with minimal and efficient trading. So you can avoid big drawdowns. So a perfect trade plan is, let's say you have to hit a certain target. You place the trade. Maybe you start at 9 a.m. Let's take crude oil futures. It's a classic plan that I use. I've been using it forever. Start at 9 a.m. If you hit your target on the very first trade, we call that the power of quitting, POQ, we say in backpack trader world. We hit our POQ. It empowers us to stop trading for the day. The trade plan did its job, it hit its goals, we're finished. Now we can turn off the computer and go live our best life today. Tomorrow we come back and do the same plan. So you might not win on the first trade, you might lose on the first trade. Then you have to take a second trade. What if you lose on that trade? 2 losses in a row is very common. If you're not used to that random distribution of wins and losses, you might freak out. You might all of a sudden start losing your belief in what you're doing, and then you're going to start trying to tinker with the plan and fix the losing trades, and you mess up all the winners that are about to come your way, and now you don't have a plan at all. So that leads to, again, the big mistake that most traders make, is they don't spend the time focusing on creating a plan and then proving it will make them money. And that's so important because when you prove it, you acquire the belief in it. You need to have belief in what you're doing. If you don't believe in what you're doing, you're going to quit. As soon as you hit a few losses, you're going to run for the hills. Now, do we have time for a short story?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, so I was in Paris about, 15, 16 years ago at a trading conference. I think it was called Salon du Trading or something like that. Maybe you're familiar with it. And I was showcasing my very first strategy, the 7 Summits Trader. And it had sold like 1,000+ copies in over 100 countries. But I, for the first time, was demonstrating it live on a floor with an exhibit booth, and there was a whole group of people around. And I knew that my colleague was back in the States calling the same trades in my trade room, right? I obviously wasn't there. I was in Paris. He was calling the same trades, and I'm showing them, and the first trade was a loser. Triggered in, went the other way, stopped out, losing trade. Trade plan said, got to take another one. Now, I wasn't trading it, but I was demonstrating it live and talking people through it. People back at home were trading it. So the second trade happened, and it was also a loser. And I could just see the looks on everyone's faces. They're all like elbowing each other and like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He's an idiot. And they all started to, I could hear it, I could see it. They all started to walk away. And a moment later, a third trade set up. And I shouted really loud, there's a third trade, come back, I want to show this to you. And I know they all came back because they wanted to see me lose. They wanted to see it lose again, right? They wanted me to have big time egg on my face. But what happened instead was the mother of all trades. This trade went on and on and on and on, and it went on a $5 run. Now, if you know anything about crude oil, 1 penny is worth $10 a contract. And we had people in the trade room trading it. Even one contract, a $5 run is a $5,000 run on crude oil. It took about 20 minutes. So the reason I always tell this story is because how wonderful it would have been if the first trade would have went straight to target and made it 28 cents and made $280 a contract in 2.5 minutes would have been great. But how much better is it that it lost, and then the next trade lost, and the trade plan forcing that third trade for that $5,000 run. And the whole point is that trade plans work in mysterious ways, and you have to lean on the trade plan itself because that's what grows your account, not an individual trade. We were just talking about this before we started recording, right? Yeah. As traders, we have to trade. There's always another trade. So you have to have something bigger that you can prove will make you money. The big mistake traders make is they don't do that. And I often wonder why. Because you can. You can prove you can make money before you risk your money. Why wouldn't anyone want to do that? I don't know.
So what I'm getting is the consistency of the approach is key, not deviating from the plan. But what is the entry strategy to begin with?
There's many ways to enter a trade, many strategies. So I always go back to step back a bit to take a big picture view with an overall philosophy. So a couple things I always teach people, and if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. It makes it easy to focus on what you need to focus on. First of all, the price action can't hide. It's there. Everyone's seeing it, and it's constantly moving, right? It's a reflection of human nature, really, the collective wisdom of what makes up the market. Buyers and sellers, the two forces. But also those that are just coming into the market and those that are leaving the market. All that, too, makes up the market. And so if you believe that that's a reflection of human nature, and human nature doesn't change, it goes through cycles and it creates patterns that repeat over and over and over and over and over, you can learn to isolate a price pattern and recognize it. And it happens so often. We have such a large sample set that we can predict what's likely to happen next because we've seen it so much. This pattern happens 70-something% of the time. This happens after. And so that's the beginning of how you create a trade plan, is you learn to isolate a pattern that happens so often that you could likely predict what's going to happen next. But trying to see that with your eyes will put you in the funny farm. You'll go crazy looking for those patterns, right? At some point, I'll be visiting you in Vacaville, the Vacaville Funny Farm, so we always talk about. So we create indicators that do that for us. And so the indicator isolates the pattern. And so like my strategies, the custom indicators and the patterns that I've learned to isolate, will find the pattern and then put the trade right on the chart for you. The entry, the targets, the stop, it's structured. It's right there on the edge of the chart. But that's also the next thing that makes traders go crazy, is that they're trading into the future that hasn't happened yet, right? And that makes people go nuts, because when you're trading into the future, you have no control over it because it hasn't happened. No one can control what price action is going to do next. And so inexperienced traders have a hard time with that too, because on a primal level, when you lose control of something that means so much to you, like if you start losing your money, for example, people equate that as a threat against their survival. And so they want to stop that unpleasant feeling. I always call those people a person trying to trade. Nothing wrong with that. That's how we all start out, right?
Yeah.
But that's not going to work, because we're not born to be good traders. We're born to run away from anything that we perceive as a threat against our survival. Most people don't realize this, but it happens on a primal level.
And I think that's why I think you said before, you've got to lean into some sort of system that's proven to work, because otherwise you will always have temptation to either cut too soon or not cut at all, leave, move your stop loss or whatever it might be.
Right.
You're going to deviate from whatever plan you've got.
Right.
But if you've got a system that is statistically on your side, your edge, as you said, that's when you can start to, I guess, scale up over time.
Yeah, but you have to do it carefully. And I always say you earn the rights of passage to go from one step to the next, because intellectually we can shake our heads, yes, and go, that makes a lot of sense. I totally understand that. I mean, we're all smart enough to understand that. Even a person trying to trade just starting out is going to understand what we're saying, and they're going to agree intellectually. But they haven't acquired the belief in it on a deeper level, because you still have to stand up in the face of adversity, what you perceive as a threat against your survival. There's a transformational process that has to happen. You have to transform from a person trying to trade to something else that isn't natural. I call it the CEO of your trading business, because that teaches you to focus on running your trade plan as opposed to being psychologically or emotionally attached to the outcome of any trade. A trade's just a business transaction. So then you just apply math and simple money management techniques so that when you do go through the random distribution of wins and losses, you can handle the losses and then still be standing to get the winners when they come in, and that's what grows your account. When your account grows, that's you making money as a trader, not whether a trade wins or loses, because there's always another trade and another trade. So with the statistical advantage that a trade plan you work on creating, that you prove to yourself, and you could see that it wins this percentage of the time, and it wins a lot more when it wins and a lot less when it loses, you have the formula basically achieve your financial goals trading. But you have to run it like a business, or you're going to end up falling into that trap of a person trying to trade and running away from the threat that you feel when you're taking heat on a trade, when you're losing money temporarily.
Sure. When you mentioned you've got an indicator that helps you with recognition of patterns, presumably you had to collect quite a lot of data in order to create that indicator in the first place. So what kinds of patterns were you looking for?
When I first started, I learned someone else's strategy because I had reached a point in my trading career where I realized there was a lot I didn't know. And I was introduced to these ideas of structure on your chart, price patterns, trade plans. These were all foreign concepts to me at the time. And a company by the name of NetPicks, they were one of the early online trading education firms when the internet just started coming into our lives. They were demonstrating this on a webinar. I sat in on webinars like everyone else. And they introduced concepts to me that really got me thinking. So I bought their strategy, which came with their custom indicators, learned it really well. I was doing really well with it. And they heard me interacting with a lot of their other members on one of their forums. One day out of the blue, they called me and invited me in to join their company as their first trading coach, which I'd never imagined I'd ever do, never crossed my mind. And I almost didn't accept, but then I was thinking, if I'm to be a trading coach, I better become a damn good trader. So that was the motivation that got me to say yes. Within 1 month, I was calling a live trade room for them, which I did for 18 straight years. So you can imagine that's a big pressure. That's a lot of, it's a lot of market time. I was trading, I was calling trades with their strategy. And I almost didn't call the first trade. I mean, I tell this story all the time. The curtains opened up. I'd never done it before. There were 180 people in the room. And that first trade showed up, and it felt so awkward, and it didn't look right, and it just didn't feel right. I couldn't look back and see all those beautiful trades that everyone looks back on their charts and imagine, oh, I could have done that, right? Because it looks so beautiful, those big winning trades. No, it's on the right edge of the chart. It hasn't happened yet. I almost didn't call it, and that's when those 4 words popped in my head. Lean on the system, which you had alluded to earlier. Those 4 words, if you don't take anything else away from this video, write those 4 words down. It changed my life. It'll change yours too. What it did for me at the time was it took the pressure off of me because I realized I got to be a professional. I got to call the trades. If the trade loses, it's not my fault. I'm just being a professional. It's the strategy's fault. But if it wins, then I look like a hero. So either way, I can't lose as a trade room host. But really, that's why it saved me at that moment. But the greater meaning of leaning on the system is that it's the system itself that has the statistical advantage. It's not you, the person trying to trade, trying to figure things out when no one knows the future. All we know is that this price pattern has happened so often that we know what's likely going to happen next. Right? That's the system. So there are many different price patterns, many. The ones that I've gravitated towards, I have my own secret sauce. I started with 7 Summits Trader. Next came Trend Jumper, then Counterpunch Trader, and then all my other strategies after that, Spotlight Master Suite, Catapult, and Cloud Control. Those are the ones of note that have sold all over the world and people are still using them. The one thing they all have in common is this indicator. We were talking about this earlier too. It's just math. Math doesn't lie. It worked hundreds of years ago with ancient feudal rice merchants. They would use their abacus to decide whether to buy or sell rice on the docks. And that same math works today. And what it does is it measures the balance of power between buyers and sellers. And so that works into all my strategies in some way, shape, or form.
So is that like measuring volume?
No, it's not.
Momentum?
It's just price. It's based on price action.
What is price? Because, I mean, when you say price, things you go from 50 to 100, but I mean, there's different ways they can get there, right?
Yeah.
With a lot of momentum, less momentum?
Yeah, I mean, I use it for Catapult Trader and Cloud Control uses it as a momentum indicator. The other strategies use it as a balance line that when the market's trading on one side, it typically implies that's the side that is winning the tug of war. It's one of those things where picture's worth 1,000 words. Like if you could see it, it makes sense. If you want, I can show it to you now.
I still haven't quite grasped what this pattern is. I mean, I'm getting a sense, yeah, it's movement of price and it's buyers versus sellers. To me, that's a combination of momentum and volume. But are you, when we talk about patterns, most traders will say, right, we've got head and shoulders, we've got W and M sort of patterns or double tops, we've got bear flags, bull flags, right?
Yeah,
These kinds of things. Are
those
those sort of incorporated within your indicator in a sense it takes those patterns into account somehow?
I don't think so, although you can combine those with my indicators to even improve what you're doing. Like a lot of people take my indicators, the patterns that it identifies, and then they add their own thing to it too, and it often makes it better. Because every trader has to find their own style, what they're comfortable trading. Okay, so counterpunch trader is a real easy one to describe. Counterpunch trader, think of Muhammad Ali and the whole rope-a-doping concept, where he covers up, waits for his opponent to get exhausted, and then he comes out swinging, right? Counterpunch trader does something similar to that. So it identifies, let's say the market's going up. It identifies when the buyers become exhausted. That's one thing. It's all price action. There's a thing that happens in price that implies the buyers are exhausted. And so my indicators show you that.
What is that though?
Well, it's math. It's hard for me to explain the equations, but it's definitely math. And it's pure price. It's not a lagging indicator. It's happening in real time. And it happens on all charts. So I teach that when someone purchases one of my programs. I get into what it all is and stuff. Okay, that's step one. Then we combine it. It's all about price action confirmation. It's stacking up the right pieces of information, not too much, but the right ingredients so that the likely outcome is predictable and you can get a statistical number on it, right? So then we use the balance of power, the crocodile pit line, whatever, you know. So the buyers are tired and now the price is trading below that balance of power line. That gives you a powerful combination of information that you wouldn't have had otherwise. Now the likelihood is the market's going to go down, and from that we can create a short trade. And when we talk about trade plans and structure on the chart, the strategy is going to use certain algorithms. I didn't invent them, but I discovered them on how they work with my stuff, where the targets are really accurate. The second mistake most traders make, back to the original question when we started this interview, is that they get into a trade without knowing when or how they're going to exit the trade. That's the hardest part of trading, is knowing when to get out. That's what causes traders problems. Get out too soon, get out too late, panic, not know what to do, right? You should never get into a trade if you don't know when you're going to get out of the trade. So that's one of the things that's built in to every single trade that my strategies indicate. You know exactly where you're getting in, but you also know exactly where you're getting out as a winner or if the trade loses.
Is your system typically picking risk to reward of 1 to 2 or 1 to 3, or is there variation on that?
Well, yes, because that's another trick, is that my strategies usually, the way they're designed, and it depends on the type of chart you're using. I prefer charts that are they're dynamic to price action more than they're not time charts. Like you don't see me using a 1 minute or a 5 minute or those kind of charts. I typically don't use. The only exception is if I'm swing trading, I will use daily charts. There's other reasons why, but momentum bars, custom Renko charts, even tick charts are more dynamic. They don't rely on time, and so the setups can tune themselves to market conditions. In other words, some trades will be larger, some trades will be smaller. It just depends on that pattern at that piece and at that moment in time. And so that's why the way the strategy is set up, targets 2, 3, and even some bigger targets are going to give you really good risk-reward ratios. But is it always going to be 2-to-1 or 3-to-1? No, it varies. The smaller trades, you don't get as good of a risk-reward ratio, but we go in with 2 positions. We have a target and then a second position that we can trail. You can even do another position for a bigger target, but just think in terms of simplicity. My strategies usually go to target 2, the second target, and the second position you can trail for the bigger move, the catapult move, where it feels like the trade's been flung from a catapult, right? We talked about that. My strategy catapult trader uses that technique a lot, where you have a high percentage smaller target that you win a lot, but then another position that can take on or catch the big runners.
So for traders who are accustomed to, the 5-minute, 10-minute, 15 and so on candles, how do they get their head around your system? Because if it's not time-based exactly, is that tricky to get used to? Or?
Not really, because you're going to practice your strategy and trading it before you trade live anyway, and that's one of the beautiful things of what we do is that you could practice it and get really good at it before you risk your money. So if you think about a pilot learning how to fly, they're going to be in the flight simulator for a while before they get into the cockpit. So yeah, there's a little bit of getting used to it, but you know what most traders are going to love? When you're still waiting for that 5-minute bar to finish, for then another one to print, another one just to see if there's even going to be a setup, and then maybe it cancels after 45, 50 minutes, who knows how long waiting, and now you got to wait again for another setup, and then maybe it triggers in, and then how long do you have? You can trade all day with those charts. But with the kind of charts we use, you can get in and out in a matter of, like, that 5-minute bar hasn't even finished yet, and you've already hit your goals and you're done sometimes. So there's pros and cons. I mean, some people like the 5-minute chart, but I just think it's hard to sustain from a lifestyle point of view.
Yeah. I mean, a 5-minute chart absolutely forces you to be there all the time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you can go and take a piss and come back and it's all gone, right?
Well, at least with a 5-minute chart, you can time it so that if you do have to go do something, which is, human beings have to do things like that, you could time it so that at least hopefully you're going to get back before the bar closes and the next one opens. But you can't really do that with a momentum bar. You run the risk of missing it. It's true, because momentum bars can go really fast or really slow. That's why we always trade during the times when the market's really active. But the video I recorded last year, which I always like to point to, I was trading crude oil futures live from a cafe in Florence. I had someone recording it from behind. It was just my trade plan. And I got in, I set the trade up. It was a minute before 9. This one starts at 8:50, not at 9. Anyway, and I knew that right at 9 there was going to be a flurry of activity, because there always is. And so the trade was placed, and right at 9, it was a short trade. It hit the entry and blew through all the stops faster than you could sneeze. And I was done. So later that day, I'm drinking some beers with some people I met in one of the taverns in Florence, and they asked me what I did for a living, and I looked them straight in the eye and I said, I work 2 minutes today. What do you do for a living?
So what is your day like typically? I mean, are you just 5 minutes making whatever, a few $100 and then you're done, or are you there longer?
I mean, you can make a lot more than a few $100s. Yeah, I mean, a lot of times I'm answering emails and doing stuff for the business, because, running a backpack trader is pretty busy. It's a busy business. I do a lot of live training with the members, which is one of my favorite things to do. I love to be able to talk with a small group of people about trading and create trade plans, teach them how to create trade plans, test trade plans. Once I had my mastermind group, and I had this idea for a new strategy. This is the one I did in Florence, actually, the same strategy. And I decided, why don't I invite them into a virtual trade room or training room, a Zoom room, and let them look over my shoulders while I create a brand new strategy from scratch, and involve them and teach them and show them and have them engaging with it. And it ended up being 29 sessions, live sessions, and I did it when I was traveling. I was in Medellin, Colombia. They're called the Colombian sessions as a result. It was spontaneous. I hadn't planned on doing it. It's just something I did. And to this day, they still talk about it. They're like completely moved by it. It changed their lives. One guy, Mike Giles, he came into the mastermind knowing nothing about trading. He didn't even know what a stock was or anything. And now, today, he's trading that strategy, the same one we created, live in a trade room, Monday through Friday, trading his account. He's been doing it for almost a year and a half now for our members. And I'm so proud of him. It's like what I did 23 years ago when I started. Now he's doing it too, basically.
So he quit his job, whatever that was.
Yeah, I don't know if he did or not, but I mean, I do know that that's what he's doing. I mean, he's an amazing guy. I'm really proud of him too. And there's a lot of members that were in that Colombian sessions that are now in his trade room, and they've been working their own trade plan. We have a couple where the husband is literally incarcerated. He's in prison. He made a mistake as a young man, paying the price. Great guy. His wife's amazing too. They've been wanting to trade. They've tried this, they've tried that. They finally found their way to the CEO Trader Mastermind, which is my flagship training program. And they're doing it. They've got a trade plan. They're working it together while he's inside in prison and she's outside just leading a life. And they're doing it together, and it's just really inspiring, and it makes me just wonder, if they can do it, anyone can do it.
It's quite a story. I mean, it's almost
inspiring. It gives me goosebumps.
Yeah.
And they're wonderful people too.
Okay.
It's makes it all that much more satisfying.
And so she found you?
They both did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They both did together.
How many years ago?
Maybe one, maybe less, a little less. It's been maybe not quite a full year.
So when does he get out to spend it?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I haven't asked. I haven't,
Yeah.
I've tried to keep things very professional. I don't get too personal. But this story is amazing. We have a really nice interview with him. We could always share that.
Yeah. So take me through your various products and, because if anyone listening to this is inspired to look you up, you've already mentioned different programs. What would you recommend a struggling trader or a trader fairly new as a sort of starting point, and why? Why is it you'd start there rather than some of the others?
So first of all, I love working with brand new traders because I could teach them the right way the first time, which is a big advantage because the school of hard knocks, we all know that's very costly. And you want to avoid that. You don't have to get sucked into that. Most people do. So if you're brand new, don't be discouraged. You don't know what you don't know, but that's fine. You can learn what you need to know. You need to focus on big picture things. Don't be in a hurry to trade live. That's the number one advice. I think investing in yourself in a skill that will last you for a lifetime is far more important than just getting everything in place so you could take that first trade, because that's how you're going to learn things the wrong way. It's going to cost you a lot, and then you're going to maybe have a hard time unlearning things. So don't do that. Again, it's like don't get in a cockpit to fly a plane if you haven't spent your time learning how to not crash into mountains in the simulator, right? It's common sense. So I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, it pretty much does. So what would you recommend people start with?
I mean, there's so much out there. First of all, I have a book. It's called The Day Trading Quick Start Guide. It's a top seller on Amazon. It's got some accolades. It has about 1,100 five-star reviews since the last time I checked, maybe more. And the online book rating firm that rate titles from all genres, hundreds of thousands of books. Last year they sent me an award saying they considered my book to be one of the best trading books of all time. So that's a good place to start.
Definitely, yeah. And when did you write that?
3 or 4 years ago, maybe.
Yeah. Do you feel it needs updating with the world changing the way it is at speed and AI and so on?
No, I don't think so. I think it's pretty universal. They'll probably want to update it though, just because it's good business for them. They'll sell a bunch of more copies, the publisher. But they haven't approached me with that yet. I did write a second book for them too, Forex Quick Start Guide. And even if you want to swing trade and not day trade, it's still a good book because what you learn as a day trader will apply to swing trading as well. There's a few other tricks that we apply to swing trading. Like we use automation more for testing and proving. We haven't talked much about swing trading. If you want to get into it, we can.
Yeah, let's talk about swing trading.
Sure.
Yeah.
What I love about swing trading, well, first of all, let's define it. Day trading is when you get in and out the same day. You're flat. At the end of the day, you're not in a position. That's what day traders do. And if you're trading backpack trader style, what I advocate, you're going to be get in, get out, and get done an hour a day or less on average. Sometimes a lot less. I would say that my strategies, if you have a good trade plan, you should be able to win a vast majority of your sessions. I always shoot for 80%. Somewhere in there. It could be a little less, a little more, some break evens too, but you're going to lose. You want to lose. It's okay to lose 20% of your sessions or less on average. That's a good day trading session. You might be done 40% of the time with the very first trade. Not bad, right? That 2-minute trade in Florence comes to mind that I took last year. It's just, that's the icon for that. Swing trading, you're going to hold a trade overnight. Could be days, weeks, even months. And so you need to have more than just one instrument, one chart. The way I teach it is we build a roster of symbols, and each symbol is a proven trade plan. So take Apple computers. That's a great trading chart. So we would create a trade plan for Apple computers. We use a daily chart. Or you could use other time frames. Nothing's stopping you. You could do slightly faster. I think daily charts are perfect because it closes once a day and it only takes no time at all to look at the chart at the end of the day. If there's a trade, there isn't. It's so easy. My strategy prints a trade right there, so you're going to see it. So we're going to create a trade plan with that chart. We're going to prove that it's going to win the amount that we need it to win or not. It's pretty important to discover when things don't work. We don't use them. And we're going to build a roster one symbol at a time. Each one is a tested trade plan until we have enough so that we are as active as we want to be. So take that Apple computer just as a general example. Maybe it gives you 2 trades a month on average. Not gonna, that might not satisfy most people, just taking 1 or 2 trades a month. But if you have a dozen of those or 20 of those trade plans and you have, that many trades a month, then you're gonna have trades every week, maybe every other day, however active you want to be. You could build that roster so that you have a trade plan program, a swing trade program that could really do well for you, because you're going to spend 30 minutes a week on average once it's built, perusing your charts, placing trades, managing trades. Some days there's nothing to do. How long did that take? Nothing. 30 minutes a week to run a swing trade plan. Now, I say stocks and options and Forex are probably what you want to focus on for swing trading. You do both or one or the other. For day trading, you're probably going to focus on futures, commodities futures, maybe Forex. Forex, you could do both. Some people like to day trade Forex. I think it's a little slow. There's only a few good pairs worth day trading in my opinion, but it depends. Some people like those 4-hour charts. I don't, but some people do. 4-hour charts look amazing. They do. But could you imagine having to, how do you live your life? Every 4 hours you have to worry about what's happening on your charts, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to...
Yeah, the retracement, it's just...
It's not only that, but you have to pay attention. Every 4 hours it imposes on your life. What if you're driving to the dentist and all of a sudden your phone is going off, you got to check your charts, you got to pull off the road, and it's not sustainable, I don't think. Some people can do it. I don't like it. I prefer the daily charts because once a day, and you can check at any time.
How do you pick your assets? I mean, is it based on previous experience? Is it to do with diversifying in a certain kind of way, or is it something to do with the news that's going on right now?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. With stocks and options, it's really simple. You want stocks with a lot of volume. That's where volume matters to me. Apple's trading, millions of shares a day. Great. We're not going to trade the shares, we're going to use the stock chart of the shares to make options trades. We're going to buy calls and puts and just basically make directional trades. Really simple. Instead of buying 100 shares of Apple, we're going to buy a call option that controls 100 shares, pennies on the dollar, and you're never risking more than the cost of the option, but we're not even risking that, because if it stops out, we're not going to hold it to expiration. We're going to sell the option back and recover a lot of what we paid for it, even on a losing trade. So that really helps the risk rewards a lot. So I usually test a single share. If I can get the profit factor, the average net profit per trade, the winning percentage, I look at winning streaks versus losing streaks, that sort of thing with a single share, then I know that the options are going to make a lot of money. So I look to test a single share. Now I might look to test on a trade plan. I'll start stacking on other possible targets. Sometimes you'll have bigger targets and even a trailer, and you could do a combination of a single share for each of those exit points. So maybe you have 4 targets in a trailer, then I'm testing 5 shares, 1 share to each exit point.
And do you diversify over sectors, like a bit of tech, a bit of, I don't know, finance or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's smart to diversify. But remember, we're not investing, we're trading. So the diversification really is going to come with different symbols. Because some will be going down, some will be going up. We're not going to short the stock, but we're going to buy a put option.
So it's much more about the pattern, the chart pattern, really.
I think.
Yeah.
But another way to diversify that I think is maybe more powerful is different strategies. So you might have a certain pattern with a handful of stocks that you're creating these trade plans out of this one specific pattern. But then there's another pattern that's completely different cadence. It dances to a different rhythm. It's a great metaphor. Being a musician, I use a lot of musical metaphors with trading because it's all patterns. But you can get diversification from multiple strategies when you're building that roster. It doesn't even have to be mine, obviously, any strategies, but certain patterns do certain things. Catapult Trader is going to give you really fast, like being flung from a catapult, where you zoom to a quick target and then it keeps on going. You get that nice runner, gets you in soon, has less risk. Whereas some of the other strategies, and it's a single bar that gives you the setup, whereas some of the other strategies takes multiple bars and it's a bigger setup, but those can be extremely profitable and powerful, but they're different. So you end up with these different cadences. And I think that that's a really great way to diversify.
Would you say you make the bulk of your money through options in that case?
For swing trading, I do, I would say, for sure. I think that's the way you want to go, because take a simple trade. Apple's a great example. You get into the trade, you're buying a call option. I'm usually interested in slightly in the money options, if you know what that means, and a lot of time left, 4 to 6 months maybe, which are more expensive options. They cost more, but they hold their value. So when you lose, you're selling the option back and recovering more. But if they win, you're getting double and triple percentage returns on what that option costs you. So let's say an option costs you $1,000, and in 4 days it hits one of your targets. And at that point you take, if you're trading multiple options, you scale out. Let's say you have 4 targets, you have 1 option at each target, let's say. So you spend $4,000. That's not going to be appropriate for everyone, but let's just say for this example. And you hit that first target, and in 4 days you made 27% on that $1,000. So you end up with $1,270. So now you take that off and you move your stop up to break even. So you have all these other 3 more positions to get bigger targets, but if it goes down the other direction, you're going to get out close to break even because you've moved the stop up at that point. All my strategies do that. You give the trade room to develop, but once it hits a certain level, we're going to move our stop to take the risk off the trade based on the strategy and the trade plan, what we've proven and tested. We test rules.
And again, your indicator would show you where that break-even point is.
Yes.
Yeah.
It prints right on the chart, so you can see it. And it also starts trailing too, so it's the trailer is moving. So then you hold out and it hits that second target, and maybe you made 85%. So you turn that $1,000 into $1,885. And the stop's still moving up and up, locking in more and more profit. So, I mean, if you make 10% a year, you have a career on Wall Street.
Yeah.
So here's one trade that you're making double and triple percentage returns. And imagine if you're winning a large percentage of the time. I mean, that's a winning formula. Anyone can see that, right?
Going back in time, a complete segue really, I'm just curious to know, when you started trading, because you didn't start out on Wall Street or anything like that.
No, I'm a home trader.
Yeah, exactly. So what made you go for it? And do you think you just got also a very good temperament for trading? You know, you're kind of balanced, kind of very disciplined.
Well, I acquired that. We're not, again, person trying to trade, it's how we all start out as. Normal, it's okay. We'll let everyone off the hook. We're people. That's how it starts. Me too, that's how I started. But I got lucky early because I told you the story of my first trade, or one of my very early trades. I learned about a head and shoulders pattern. I even received a brochure in the mail that's like, oh, that's really interesting. And it came at a period in my life when I was killing myself running a very busy business. I was maybe sleeping 3 hours a night. It was a crazy business, very successful, but crazy.
What were you doing?
Well, it was entertainment / vending service. Yeah, we can get into that at another time, because that's a whole other story. It was a great business for a young 27-year-old. And I was also doing a nonprofit concert promoting and playing in a rock band. I just didn't have time to be a normal person in those days. I couldn't sleep. It's like I never slept. It was killing me, basically. So when the idea of trading was introduced, and I started thinking, well, this is my exit. This is how I'm going to maybe normalize my life. And I ended up learning the head and shoulders pattern. I saw it on charts. This is before the internet. I was getting paper charts in the mail. And then every day I'd fill the charts in with the closing price from the Investors Business Daily or the Wall Street Journal. Then Monday the new charts would come, right? And I drew the head and shoulders. There it is. That's the one that got me excited in the first place. And I shorted the British pound. Little did I know there was someone else was shorting the British pound at the time. You probably know more about it, being a Londoner.
Mr. Soros.
Yeah, the trade that broke the Bank of England. I mean, the pound lost 25% of its value and like really fast. It's devastating for the country. That was back in 1992, a long time ago. One of my early trades. I took my several grand, took a break from my business, put it in the hands of a capable manager who I had been training at the time, and I went to Europe and backpacked through Europe for 3.5 months, and it changed my life. I started sitting in with street musicians, being a drummer, picked up a set of bongos in Amsterdam, was, sitting in all over, because they're portable, right? I can carry them. Can't carry a drum set. And I ended up meeting a Venezuelan musician in Florence, which is why I was back there last year. It had taken me 30 some odd years to finally make it back there. But I went to visit him in Caracas the next year, and that led me to, within 24 hours, I met the woman who I ended up marrying, and we just had our 30-year anniversary. So, Soros made billions. I made a wife and kids.
Yeah.
So I was hooked on trading. It changed my life. And I always tell this story because I want to impart upon anyone hearing this story that trading's too important to get wrong. What it could do for you in your life, you can get it right. So get it right. Make that choice. Make that choice, make that commitment, whether it's with me or someone else. Get a mentor, get someone that can teach you so you don't have to learn all the hardships. You don't want the school of hard knocks you want to feel that cane around your neck pulling you into that trap. That's going to cost you a lot more.
Did you ever hit some walls where you thought, oh God, maybe I can't make this work consistently? No.
Many times.
Oh yeah, okay.
Especially early on. The one that hurt the most, there's two good examples. One, when I didn't really know what I was doing, I was working with a broker, and I was following the advice of the broker, and we were doing really well. I think we had like 3 weeks of a winning streak in crude oil. The the discounted commission in those days was like $50 round turn per contract. Anyway, I made like 12 grand in 3 weeks, which was good for the early 90s for a young guy, right? Then I'm listening to the broker, and she's like saying all this stuff, this is what's going to happen, and we're going to go heavy on this, and this is where we're going to make the mother load, and blah, blah, blah. And I lost it all in one day. That hurt. 12 grand, 3 weeks, you feel like you're on top of the world, like you've cracked the code. You haven't. And the broken clock is wrong or right twice a day, right?
Yeah.
So
it's so like the gambling scene where you're doing so well and then you put all your chips in.
right.
It's gone.
Gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was kind of like that. And I learned a lot, though. I mean, that was a pretty valuable lesson. It was probably good that happened to me. Changed a lot of things. It got me reading books and learning more. But one of the worst trades I ever made, I bought 100 shares of Cisco Systems in the early 90s, right? This is when the internet it was just being built, more or less. And I bought it for $20. And when it went up to $30, I'm like, oh man, that's a 50% profit. I get to put $1,000 in my pocket just like that. And so I decided to sell it. And, don't believe them when they say you never go broke taking a profit. That's not true. That's a falsehood all the way. If I knew what I was doing, yeah, I made 50%. I made $1,000. You know how much I lost in opportunity cost if I just would have hung on to the same 100 shares? A few years later, the same 100 shares would have been worth $300,000. So I made $1,000 and I lost $299,000 in opportunity because I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah. So I call that the worst trade I ever made. Oh dear. So I learned a lot from that one. Yeah. It took a while to learn it, but I finally did.
Finally, seeing as you're in London, I'm just going to ask you what brought you here and what you're doing here.
Well, I haven't been here since before COVID, so I miss London because I love London. Something about it, I don't know why. And I wanted to come back. That's the main reason. But in so doing, I've met people along the way, you included, and I always look there's an active trader community here. So I figured, see if I can get to know some traders, and lo and behold, you introduced me to Simon and Lisa, his sister, and now I'm speaking at the London Trader Show this Friday, although maybe by the time they hear this video, it'll be after the fact, but
yeah.
So the main reason I came is because I love to come here and backpack trader. You could trade from anywhere. And there's something about trading in the afternoon instead of early in the morning because I'm on the West Coast in the U.S. So if my start time is 9 a.m., it's really 6 a.m. for me. It was 9 a.m. New York time. So I like trading at 2 or 3 in the afternoon. That's kind of cool.
Absolutely, European sort of time. Yeah.
Yeah. But what really brought me here is I'm always in search for the world's greatest pizza.
Really? Well, you're in the wrong country for that. You want to be in Italy, surely.
Well, there's some great pizza in Italy, but the best pizza I ever had was literally in Medellin, Colombia. So it'll surprise you where that pizza is. And London has some good pizzas.
Okay. Yeah. And where have you been, on your backpacking journey? I mean, it sounds like pretty much everywhere. I mean, is this constantly a thing with you, and you're dragging your wife around everywhere?
Well, I used to. I love it when she comes. But she gets bored sometimes because I work. I'm not just trading. I'm also, backpack trader is a busy business. I'm working with other traders all the time, and everything involved in running an internet business is a lot harder than it appears. So she doesn't always come with me, but luckily she supports me, so she's wonderful. But I love Europe, obviously. I've been to many countries in Europe. South America has been wonderful too. Over the last few years, I've spent a lot of time in Buenos Aires, Colombia, like I said, Mexico, of course, Costa Rica. I was in Costa Rica when I was putting the finishing touches on one of my favorite older strategies, Spotlight, Power Trader, and Master Suite. It was a lot of breakthroughs during that time for me, and came after Counterpunch Trader. It's a great strategy. One of my students is still using it to call a trade room on YouTube 3 days a week with that strategy. It's over 10 years running.
Impressive.
Yeah. And then I've never been to Africa or Australia, so I would love to get there. I don't know if I'll even trade, but I want to go there. I'll swing trade it probably because I don't know about day trading. And I recently, for the first time, made it to Asia. I was in Thailand and Vietnam, which are now two of my all-time favorite places. Vietnam particularly was just, wow, what a place. I'll go back there.
How's the internet out there when you're going?
It was decent. Yeah, it was pretty good. They're technologically on top of things. Depends on where you go, obviously. But I was in Patong, Thailand, just outside of Phuket. Amazing energy, wonderful place. And we all went out to dinner. My wife was with me and some friends too. I was traveling with a group of friends. And what I loved about that is that after dinner, I was able to go back to the hotel at 9 p.m. and trade my crude oil session. It was exactly 12 hours after. So if it's at 9 a.m. in New York, it was 12 p.m. or 9 p.m. in Thailand. And everyone else went out after dinner, and I went home, played some trades, did my session, bing, bang, boom, get in, get out, get done, backpack trader style, turned off the computer, and went out and joined them for a great night out on the town. That was wonderful.
Sounds like the life to me.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Cool. Well, we should wind up there. It's great chatting with you again.
Nick, thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.